Welcome to MSP Unplugged. Don't let dirty data hold you back with Gradient. I'm your host, Paco LeBron. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Let me go ahead and introduce my guest. We have none other than Colin Knox, who is the CEO of Gradient. Colin, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
You know, I can't complain. Better than good, better than most is what I like to say is my phrase, or since in the spirit of John Dubinsky, who's not on the show today, better than I deserve. But, I'm pretty excited because, we have had a couple of exchanges and several other conferences in the past. You have a new company here at Gradient MSP, so would love to really dive right into it. But before we get into that, want to talk about my favorite thing that we're talking about is TechCon Unplugged. It is our in-person event that is less than 3 weeks on September 17th to the 19th at the Aloft Chicago O'Hare Hotel in Rosemont, Illinois. I just scared myself because I just looked at the date and there's so much still to be done. However, for those that are attending, because we still have tickets being purchased, learn from amazing panels to help maintain and improve your business, meet vendors to find products and services that can save you time and money, and rub elbows with your peers in the community. Tickets are still on sale for $199, but tickets are limited as we have two great pre-function events that are not part of the event. But with your ticket purchase, you'll be able to go ahead and get into the Microsoft 365 workshop / boot camp that is being done by none other than Cyber Matt Lee. Matt has done this with many other vendors and from his former MSP that he was at. Really great guy, and it's going to have a really great workshop because we're really going to go into the details of specifically how to leverage Microsoft 365. And we just updated the website today, and the information and details are coming soon on the website. Is Ninja Special Event. It's going to be Back to Revenue is the title of the event. It's going to be a fun event where we're going to talk a little bit more on some of the key aspects of your IT business and making it a fun time before we officially kick it off Friday night at 6:00. So again, if you are looking to come and head over, the hotels still have rooms available. You can email the sales director, which we've updated on the website. The booking of the blocks, unfortunately, have been filled, but they are willing to take additional bookings if you're still planning to come to the hotel. All that mouthful to say is head over to techconunplugged.com, purchase your ticket, and we will see you in 3 weeks. All right. So back to, I think it's a very interesting topic on just dirty data in general, and really talking about, kind of what Gradient MSP does as a whole. But Colin, why don't you go ahead and just tell me a little bit, why don't you give us your 30-second elevator pitch for Gradient MSP, and then we can go into, how long the company has been in business.
Yeah, sure. So at Gradient MSP, we know that MSPs want to run more profitable businesses, I think. And in order to do that, you need to be able to trust that the tools that you're using are working optimally and are interconnected successfully, so that you've got the right information at your fingertips and the right things being handled. The problem is that running an MSP, you've got so many complicated processes and neglected records and accounts and things like that that just make it impossible to be as effective as possible in making decisions on accurate information, which just leaves you as the MSP owner frustrated and confused. So what we're doing is building a platform with a suite of tools, which ultimately, by using the tools, can help you make better decisions by automating, some arduous tasks and some of the just basic, frustrating administrative things that you need to handle on a regular basis, and allowing you to have the freedom to do the things you like the most, whether that's growing your business, spending more time with your friends and family, or just enjoying your life. So that's what it's all about. We ran an MSP before, we ran a channel vendor before, working with thousands of MSPs. And so this time it's all about just making the MSP owner's life easier and helping make them more successful, however they define success.
Very cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people were really interested because I think you were at where you were previously at the last vendor prior to the sale that you had of your successful SaaS solution. you actually had took a break a little bit, right? And try and understand. And then you had this really cool, I thought was like this mysterious like launch, right? Of figuring out what Gradient did, right? And I think it created a lot of buzz on understanding, what does the company do and what is the services it offers. But, you hit in on a couple of things on like MSPs saving time and being able to save money as well. Why don't we go into a little bit more into the details of what Gradient's first product that's being offered right now and how that's helping with dirty data?
Yeah. So the first thing that we offered was a completely free solution to analyze the data that sits in your PSA and try to determine what of that data is no longer relevant to your business, or maybe is just bad or incorrect, or how we'd classify dirty, and then assist you in cleaning that up. So presenting recommendations with a set level of confidence of how irrelevant we feel a record might be, and then kind of a simple accept or ignore option. And if you choose to accept it, it goes into the PSA and doesn't delete the data, but marks it as inactive so that it doesn't obfuscate any reporting. And that's really the big driver behind it. Is if you're an MSP and you've been in business for any amount of years, you've just naturally accumulated this wealth of garbage data in your PSA. There's tons of great, very valuable, very informative data. But anytime you're pulling a report, anytime you're trying to make a decision or determine where's our technicians' time going, which are our best clients, what product lines or service lines are doing the best for us or the most profitable, it's all covered in this cloak of, inaccuracy and obfuscation, because you have all these red herrings that are there from accounts that no longer exist, contacts that don't even work at clients anymore, services you're not even selling, ticket types that are just too similar, so you're not getting a good reading on where the time's really going because it's getting split up. So that was really the first thing that we came out with. And the genesis of that wasn't this like grandiose and amazing vision that's like, oh, we can like clean up all this data and have them just make such amazing decisions. That's kind of the byproduct of it. And we can dig into what that cost is to a business by having dirty data. But where it really started is we were mapping out a product build for a solution we're going to be launching in November here, which is to automate the billing reconciliation efforts for an MSP every month. So the whole resale stack, or everything you sell, making sure that you're getting paid for everything you do and that the invoices that you're sending out to your clients are accurate. So no more of that crazy tab chaos where you're going through all of your different tabs and vendor portals to see which clients are consuming what and how much and everything else. And so as we were going through the user mapping of that and the flow and product planning, some of the early MSPs that we were talking about, we were working with them and looking in their PSAs, and some of them had hundreds of service items in their service catalogs or product catalogs in their PSA, depending on which PSA you use. And they just sat there and they're like, man, if I have to map these items over to, my product lines or no, I'm overwhelmed already because I don't even know what most of these are, what they're related to, which ones are in use, which ones aren't. And so we kind of said, okay, well, how can we be creative about solving that? What if we could determine what we think are the more active services that are in active use, and we pop those to the top of the list for you to map? And everybody's like, yeah, that would be super helpful. And then we're like, okay, well, it's interesting because we still have to go through that for account mapping and everything else. And going back to when we were an MSP, anytime we connected a product into our PSA, it was the same like gut wrench feeling like, oh my God, half these accounts don't exist. A bunch of these are actually just prospects. They're not clients. And just going through that process was a pain. So we figured, why don't we, if we need to solve this for MSPs to better adopt our solutions in the future, and it can help them in their business, it can help them adopt other solutions, it can make, their reporting more accurate, why don't we just build that and get that out to the market? So that's what we did. And as we started doing that, and as we started looking more into data management and data science principles and stuff, and the costs of dirty data, it's incredible. Like, there's very, very well-founded research studies and principles out there that say that each dirty record costs your business $100 to just have it and leave it sit there as a dirty record. And that's a cost consequence that comes in from making a bad decision because of that data that's been misinformed, right? And wasted investments, wasted time spent on stuff, wasted effort, all of these things that culminate in making that bad decision. And so when you start looking at, that's a single record, right? That could be a contact that doesn't work for your client anymore. That could be a client's address is wrong. It could be anything that way. And when you look at the thousands of records that exist within your PSA, I mean, we've got what we've seen so far with a few hundred MSPs that have jumped on. The average MSP has like $260,000 of bad data in their PSA. Like that's a big lurking beast that's sitting in there that, we wanted to get a solution out there, help clear that up, help solve that, and then make you more streamlined as we dig into future solutions.
Sure. So definitely a lot to unpack from all that you said, because I think there's a lot of key pieces. First of all, excuse me, like you said, garbage in, garbage out. I think we've all heard that phrase, and especially myself, which some people know from my previous me starting my MSP. I was a database manager for 10 years. So that phrase has been ingrained in us on what was coming in. It's not only for reporting, what's in the system, things of that nature. So having a clean system helps alleviate a lot of items, like you said, making business decision, being able to pull the proper reporting, get the right percentages, costs, things of that nature. And really what a lot of people need to know too, is for those that have been doing not only this for a long time, but maybe have evolved their offerings over time as well. So I'm going to give you a great example. So, when we first started, we were a computer repair shop. And when we were doing that for about 4 years, then we transitioned to the hybrid model where we were doing break fix and managed services for residential and some smaller small businesses. Now we're fully small businesses, fully managed services. And so through those different phases, we had different naming of products, different naming of services, different solutions. And then most recently, so we used the Synchro PSA and the syncing of other vendors like PSAs and getting all that details. There is just so much in there that we get into a point of we really don't want to deal with it, and we push it off for another time. We push it on. There wasn't really an automated way for us to look into it. So for full disclaimer and disclosure, we are a Gradient partner. We loaded the system into our PSA, or synced it, I should say, and it allowed us to understand that there were not only smart things to pick up on. For example, it highlighted to us like, hey, you haven't sold this type of device in X amount of time. Are you still offering this? Is this something you still want to keep on? And it was a product that we retired. So it just highlighted some product services that it was still picking up, along with clients that we just haven't heard from. And that was, I think, a biggest piece because, as an MSP, you should be making as much of an effort to contact your clients and just understand a lot of things. We're implementing that here now at Prodigy Techs, where, once a month, we're trying to make sure that we can call to find out who's been hired, who's been fired, what's new at the business. At a bare minimum, those 3 questions on some of the key stakeholders that are pretty much paying your monthly services. And what you would often find out is, they've had 2 new temps start, or there's been a person there for over a year and they need a login for the first time, when that could have probably helped make their business more efficient moving forward. So all of these details to say, the way that the gradient system works is really smart. And honestly, the biggest piece that I want to make sure the audience understands is that to enroll in this first product that Colin is mentioning is 100% free. So you can go in onto the website, register to be a partner as well. There is no cost to figure out where you are with your data. Now that's with mine, and I feel like we've kept ours a little bit cleaner, and our score is pretty high. But I know that there's a lot more complicated systems that I've heard with where it's for ConnectWise, Autotask, et cetera, where the complexity of that system will have the complexity of details and items in there as well. So, so we've already talked about on how that's going to save time and money. How have you seen partners? And just to confirm, you are obviously channel only, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. All we build is for MSPs. Yeah.
Perfect. And then, you know, a little bit more on maybe talking about how some of your partners have improved their MSP services by implementing Gradient, meaning, you know, from discovering obviously all this dirty data. And I know you've mentioned there is a big cost to that, having all that data. What have been some success stories that at least have given a positive outlook on where you're at?
There's a few from very different ranges and different perspectives, right? There's things as much as it doesn't really matter if you're 3 people or 300 people. Communication in your business is an issue, right? You've got techs that are out there working, deploying, decommissioning, fixing things all day long. You have account managers that are out there selling, upgrading, reselling, upselling, whatever they can all day long. And then you've got like back office administration and accounting and invoicing that's just going. And everybody's relying on what they're looking at in the PSA for the most part to inform what is the state of the union, what is reality for us, right? And so, you know, a technician, less so. It's more on, what are the configurations? What are the devices and systems out there? Who are the points of contact that I need to speak with? And you know, what contracts do they have? What do they get, right? Yeah. And so that's pretty, you know, simple. But when a ticket comes in and it's like, hey, you need to set up these 3 new users, like you just said, and they go out and they set up 3 new users, they're not, most of them, even if they were empowered to or had the access in the PSA, and most technicians don't have the access in the PSA to go and edit and modify the contract for that customer to now say plus 3 users today. So if you prorate, you prorate. If you don't, you don't, right? So what happens, they go and they consume licenses because let's face it, most licensing systems, it's consumption-based. You can add until your heart's content because the vendors are all happy to take your money. And they also understand that provisioning causes delays for the services that you're going to deliver to your clients. Yep. So, you know, they go and deploy that. Now accounting at the end of the month is going to do the invoicing, and they're invoicing, right? How many people would love to be going into every single system, every single month to find out how much is real, what is being used, how many were deployed, how many were decommissioned, on what dates, everything else? Nobody likes doing that. Nobody wants to do that. So a lot of people just don't. And yeah, maybe three seats of M365 maybe isn't a ton of money. But then when you add on the email security on top of that, SaaS backup for those mailboxes, you know, maybe a phishing testing service. Now you got dark web monitoring, everything else. Now all of a sudden you're talking about like $30+ per user per month. And that only has to happen a few times across your 10, 20, 30, 300 clients. And you're looking at thousands of dollars in MRR that's being missed. So there's one use case, right?
And then you get stuck to the point where it's like, all right, what do I do? Do I go back to the client and try and recoup that money? Or are you going to eat it?
That's written off to bad debt, brother. Like
exactly.
I don't know a client in the world's like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll pay for that. No way, man. It's like you're goof, you missed it.
Yep.
So that's one use case, is making sure that everybody's looking at the same system and it's accurate and true. Right now, that was a bit of a curtailment to what's coming from us in November, but other things that we've seen. I mean, one of our it might have actually been the very first partner that we connected in to just see, like, does this thing work? And so they connected in their PSA, and we started going through together, like one-on-one, some of the data, because we wanted to see, like, does this look right to you? Is there anything challenging? And he clicked into the contacts tab. So we separate, we kind of scan against accounts, contacts on those accounts, contracts, service items, ticket types, and then PSA users. So, and it's all tabbed. So we clicked into contacts because that's generally the most dirty area because you have tons of contacts.
Yep.
And the highest confidence record there that said that this is definitely dirty, he was like, that can't be possible. And so he clicked in to see why we thought it was dirty. And there was like no tickets from this contact or had been assigned from this contact in like 2 years. And, you know, hadn't been on opportunities, hadn't had this, hadn't had that. It's like, no way. And what we realized was that was the contact that the system was automatically emailing their invoices to every month. And they couldn't figure out why this client had suddenly over the last couple of years become such a poor paying client. that they would have to send numerous follow-ups until he'd like phone the CEO or president that he had a relationship with to say, hey, can we just get this invoice paid? They're like, oh, we didn't see it. Can you send it to me and everything else? So all of the time wasted in chasing payment from somebody that didn't even exist at that client anymore. They hadn't worked there in years, right? Didn't work there. So again, a tech didn't go through when they decommissioned their account and go into the PSA and say, set this contact as inactive.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's little things like that that can happen. We had other partners already that, they looked at a prospect that they hadn't engaged with in, about a year. They're like, wow, we haven't had an opportunity with them in a year. We haven't followed up with them in a year, hadn't done anything. Let's follow up. And just, part of it luck, part of it the timely and friendly reminder, but they were kind of pissed off with their IT services at the time. And they just went and closed a deal off of a free service that said, hey, you should probably remove this record from your PSA so that it's not misguiding your opportunity pipeline, right? So like there's all of these little benefits of what you can get out of using a service like this. And we love hearing about it because it's things that we never even would have envisioned, right? For us, it was, we want you to be able to adopt our future solutions better, as we release them. And hey, this should actually help you with your reporting and stuff. But then there's all these little wins, right? Like we've got one partner that's getting paid quicker from one of their top clients because they're actually sending invoices to the right place now. We've got another that closed real MRR because they were reminded about a prospect that they had forgotten about and not done anything with. So
yeah,
little things like that.
No, I mean, it all hits really great when you hear those stories because, it just highlights a lot of the things that, we preach here all the time about. And it's like, get your onboarding right, get your offboarding correct. How can you get that other visibility? Because sometimes I think we're just in tunnel vision, right? And we have so many things going on, especially for solo business owners that are trying to just, get all the pieces together. It's just really rough. I guess, one additional question is, because time is such an important piece, how long does an initial setup take for Gradient? I mean, obviously I know the answer, but well,
it's like minutes, right? Like you go through, first of all, we wanted to make everything frictionless. We were MSPs and we were a channel vendor. So whether we felt it or we heard it 2, 5, 10,000 times, you don't want to contact us for pricing. You don't want to have a salesperson phone call conversation for an hour long to hear all the benefits and see part of the software. You don't want to have to pay to play all the time or use a trial or whatever else. So that's what we did. You go to the website, you sign up, and it literally takes you a few minutes to fill in your information, create an API account in your PSA, plug that into us. Depending on the PSA and how long you've been on the PSA and how big you are, it could take anything from literally seconds to sync your data in and do an analysis to a few minutes or a few hours. We'll let you know when it's ready. You'll hop in and start looking through things, right? So really simple, easy, and effortless to get going with it.
Very cool. And then as far as, requirements, would this benefit not only someone that has obviously put in quite a bit of data in their PSA and they're working through it? Would it also, or have you seen examples where it would benefit a new MSP or a new IT business owner that's trying to figure out what their PSA?
Absolutely. I think like anything in your business, if you're one person, two people, it's good at that point in time to have processes in place of how are we going to respond to tickets? How are we going to solve this issue? Because it's repeatable, it's predictable, and it's going to be more efficient. And as you scale, those people follow the processes versus all of a sudden you have 10, 20, 50 people and ingrained habits of how they do things, what they do, everything else. It's a lot harder to turn that ship now to say, no, you're going to do it this way. This is how you didn't do your tickets right. You got to get your time in, right? If you ingrain that from the beginning, anything, it's more effective and it helps you scale faster and easier. And it mitigates the pain of trying to initiate or implement a change later on when you're larger. This is the same, right? It's a process for keeping an eye on the data, managing that data, keeping it clean. Would you rather be cleaning things at 10 to 50 records a month? Or would you rather come in and have like 3,000 records that you need to start clicking through and going through, right?
Right.
Keep it manageable, keep it on an ongoing regular process and part of what you do. And that just helps, have a handle on everything.
Sure. One question, which, curious to get your feedback. I think a lot of people are kind of on edge with security nowadays, right? And I think that, with this tool, obviously you're kind of opening up certain APIs to give visibility. And I think your response was great when I saw it brought up in one of the Facebook groups is, this is not your first rodeo. Like, you are a new vendor in the space, but you've been here, done that type situation with another SaaS product, especially understanding security. Do you want to talk a little bit more about?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a massive thing, right? Security and privacy is everything. To some people the question comes from numerous angles, right? And it's rooted in different things. So one is like, why would I ever trust this data to be in the cloud with somebody that I don't know? My first response to that is, you already trusted in a cloud to somebody that you probably don't know, right? Do you know if you're in ConnectWise Cloud or Datto Autotask or Synchro or KaseBMS or anything? Do you really know those people or those companies that are managing the data and have access to the data? No. But you have a level of trust in the business and an expectation that the business has taken the right steps and initiatives to secure and hold that data private, right?
Yep.
We're no different, right? It's just in another spot. But there's a trade-off for value there, right? The other part, is this isn't our first rodeo. If you look at the business that we did previously, we were a password management, privileged credential management system for MSP. So all your most privileged domain admin, master admin, super user accounts for all of your clients' networks, the most probably sensitive bit of data you could ever possibly have. And we stored that for thousands and thousands of MSPs, and I won't even say how many privileged credentials in that system, right? Mm-hmm. We know a thing or two about securing and holding data secure and private because of that business, right? Data encrypted and in transit at rest, everything else. So we've employed a number of those same practices at Gradient, but we also understand that you could sit there and say, you can talk to me all day long and tell me what you think you've done to have it secure. So we've gone out and we're SOC 2 Type 1 right now. We're actually nearing the end of our SOC 2 Type 2 audit period. So, in the next 6 weeks, we'll be SOC 2 Type 2 with a third-party auditor report that tells and outlines all of the policies we have in place, all the technologies and controls we have in place to secure and hold your data private. So those are the things that we're doing, and we'll continue to work towards more compliances and standards around security and privacy so that we do earn that trust.
Very cool. Well, let me take a quick break. Let's get any gathering last thoughts, because I just really realized that we're already at the 30-minute mark. So we can probably continue a little bit more. But if there's any additional items, feel free to make note of that really quick. And for those that would like to support the show, I think for over the last couple of weeks, we've been really mentioning and harping on our patreon.com, where you can get access to our IT business owner only Facebook group. And we thank you for all our continuously supporting us, our Patreon supporters. But we would also like to push if you can leave us a review in your favorite podcatcher. This will help us get found by other like-minded listeners, and that way we can spread the news on the show to others that may be looking for more of this type of content. So head over to just the podcast of TechCon Unplugged. I'm sorry, MSP Unplugged. Wow, my wires are screwed. MSP Unplugged, and we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Leave a review there, and we would greatly appreciate it. One question that just came in from the chat was something new coming. Did I hear, or am I making that up? So I think
you did hear. You're not making anything up. So November 17th, we are holding a one-day virtual conference called Leg Up. So we'll make sure that we get links out to you for registering. We're just about to open registration for that. But cool. At that event, we're going to be launching a product that we've named Billable. And that is essentially automating the monthly, arduous, frustrating, drudgerous task that you go through to reconcile all of the usage quantities across your entire stack to your PSA contract so that you can invoice your clients quickly and easily, kind of like that second last mile of the invoicing and billing process. So PSAs have done amazing things to automate creation of invoices, distribution of invoices, syncing through to your accounting package. But where that gap is making sure that what you're invoicing, the counts and the items, is actually accurate. So we're automating that process for MSPs. If that's something you're interested in, and I know it's something I wish I had when I ran my MSP, hit up our website. Just go to meetgradient.com. And at the top of any page, there's a quick banner there. We're asking for partners and MSPs to share their resale stacks with us so that we know exactly which vendors and products we need to connect with to make sure that we're automating across your whole stack. So that this isn't just a few things I'm buying from a certain distributor and then I still have to deal with the, tab chaos and hell with the rest of my partners and vendor partners. It's let us know. We're going to go and solve that across the board and make that an automated process for you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Colin, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Is there anything additional that you want to share with the listeners or just know outside of just what we've talked about today?
No, I think, I think we've covered a lot. Super appreciative to be here and grateful for people taking time out of their days to listen and hear what we've got going on. But, is hop in at Gradient, sign up, start using the solution. I mean, you got nothing to lose, but, not knowing how much dirty data sits in your PSA and not taking action on that today. So go and sign up, completely free. We are never going to charge for that product. And stay tuned for what we've got coming and join us at the November 17th event.
Very cool. We'll make sure that we have all those in the show notes. If there are people that kind of just want to know where to find you or maybe want to poke you, is meetgradient.com the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, okay. Meetgradient.com. On social media, we're at meetgradient on pretty much every social media platform, and I'm at Reality Knox on pretty much every social media platform too. So.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, Colin, again, really appreciate you coming on the show here. And for those listening, come join us every Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 Central. Watch live and hang out on the chat room over at youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Subscribe and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode, like a special one we just did this past Friday with Danny Jenkins over at Threat Locker. We will be filling in the feeds quite more often, and so you may be able to get some bonus episodes in the meantime. Or go ahead and use your favorite podcasting app to take us wherever you go. We are on Amazon Music, Spotify, and on Apple Podcast. Again, we thank you for listening, and we will see you next time on MSP Unplugged.